Welcome again, ladies and gentlemen, in Austria at the Red Bull Ring for the final race of the Sunday's program within the third round of the ESET Cup Series in 2023. It is actually the second round for the championship that is coming up next, and it is the ACCR Formula 4, the Czech Formula 4 Championship that started its life the last time round in Hungary, in Budapest, and is ready for round number 2, or let's say the second part of the round number 2 here in Austria. Second race of the weekend, and it was the front row starter and pole sitter James Agosi who took pole position and victory in the first race, and he is again lining up on pole for race number 2, and alongside him this time his teammate Nandavud Birombagdit. So it is BHM Racing's front row start for race number 2. Behind them in third, Renault Frankot, one of the trio of Jense Motorsport cars. Alongside him, Michael Sauter from Switzerland. Row number 3, that is Jense Motorsport's territory. Ethan Ischer and Matthias Bjerre-Jacobsen in 5th and 6th. Row number 4, Nico Taylor. And alongside him, the Czech driver Jiří Šafránek. Row number 5, Oliver Michel and Miroslav Mikeš. The cars are now setting off for the formation lap. 4,318 meters, that is the track's length, and we are going to do a couple of more laps on it this afternoon. How many? We don't know that yet for sure, because the race distance is again dictated by the time limit of 25 minutes. That is how the race is now set up. So we are again on the hilltop straight, coming back down into turn number 4. One of the greatest spots for overtaking, but also one of the less safe spots for overtaking, to be fair, because the track is starting to descend in this area, and everybody tries to be a bit later on the brakes, but then the track sort of falls away from you, and it's so easy to overshoot it and find yourself with not enough space to go, with quite a lot of speed that you're carrying. And here through the final 2 right-handers, you'll see that the sunlight is already getting quite low down, so there is quite a lot of glare from the cars and longer shadows all around. The track, of course, being located in the wonderful, wonderful scenery of the Styrian Mountains. We're getting back ready onto the starting grid. We began with 6 cars on the grid in Hungary, but already we've got 4 more of them, so 10 strong field for the second round, and we're only excited to see where it all grows. Everybody taking their grid slots. The green flag is up in the air, so everything is ready to get the race started. 5 lights are on, and we are racing. Great getaway immediately by Ethan Ischer, who dominated the opening round in Hungary, and he is now immediately up into second, which we might lose again to Michael Sauter. Now he goes wide into the first corner, so does Renault Frankot. But it is the pole sitter James Agosi leading the way from Michael Sauter. Nandavud Birombagdit trying to regain some ground. He's diving down the inside on Sauter, 3 wide into the third corner. Some drivers have to take the wider line and actually make a small excursion through the runoff over the sausage curb on the outside. James Agosi trying to stay completely unfazed by all of that. Nandavud Birombagdit returning back into second. There is contact, and 2 cars now actually in the gravel trap and crashing into each other. They both went off in separate incidents, but collected one another in the gravel trap, and that seems to be the end of that for both of them. We have got Michael Sauter and one of the Jense cars in the runoff area, and that is going to bring out the safety car. The rest of the pack, meanwhile, finishing the lap number 1. And the safety car will meet them at the start, or actually around the first corner. There it is. The Audi already waiting for the race leader, James Agozi, who stayed away from all the trouble. And now he's leading from his teammate Nanda Woodbirambagdi. Renault Frankot in 3rd, Matthias Bjerre Jacobsen in 4th, and that means that it is actually the championship leader Ethan Ischer in trouble. So let's see that again. We had Birambagdi on the inside of Sauter, that pushed Sauter wide, and we then had Renault Frankot on the inside of Ethan Ischer, and that pushed Ischer wide. And as they were both skipping across the gravel trap, they simply hit one another. Michael Sauter spun. There is front wing damage for Ethan Ischer. The cars are now being retrieved back behind the barriers. So both Swiss drivers out of contention immediately. Michael Sauter and Ethan Ischer. But it is the young American James Agozi who is the race leader. He ran away from any sorts of trouble, kept his first place, kept his head cool. And behind him, that's where it all unraveled. And Davud Birambagdi lost a couple of places at the start, but then placed his car wonderfully in the course of the opening lap and regained all the lost positions to come back to 2nd. Renault Frankot goes up into 3rd, having started from 3rd row on the grid. So has Matthias Bjerre Jacobsen. He was also on row number 3, but now he's up to 4th. Nico Taylor, good start, good first lap. P5 for him now. Oliver Michel in P6, and then the 2 Czech drivers in 7th and 8th. Tisha Franek ahead of Miroslav Mikeš, who is making his debut here at the Red Bull Ring. So, the car of Ethan Ischer already safely behind the barrier and behind the fencing, and now the car of Michael Sauter will be taken away as well. And that means that at the end of this lap, we should see the safety car coming back in, as there is plenty time now to get that remaining car out of track, off the track, and leave the track ready to go green again. So of course the first lap incident under investigation. So there could be Nanda Woodbirambagdi and also Renault Frankot in trouble for pushing their rivals wide. But that's that kind of corner actually. It's where this simply happens, because if you're on the inside, well, the track sort of steers away from you, or turns away from you all the time. And well, any driver doesn't really wish to leave his rival too much space, and they also want to open the taps as soon as possible. And that simply leads to such situations. And this is exactly the sport. If you watch Formula One racing, then this is the sport where lots of crashes happen pretty much each year. So that's simply the sport that is actually asking for such trouble. So we've got 2 PHM cars up front, 2 Yenza Motorsports behind them, and then Nico Taylor in P5. The race is restarted with just over 18 minutes left on the clock, and James Agozi yet again driving away immediately from Nanda Woodbirambagdi in P2 and Renault Frankfurt in P3. Mirek Mikesh jumped over the sausage curb in the turn 1 as he was a little wider than he should have been, but he's back with everybody else. And into third we go. Agozi from Birambagdi in Frankfurt. Matthias Bjerre Jakobsen in fourth. From Nico Taylor, Oliver Michel, Jiří Šafránek and Miroslav Mikesh. And Birambagdi already under pressure from Frankfurt. Ooh, locking up the inside front wheel. And then shutting the door on the outside on Frankfurt. Frankfurt needs to try somewhere else. Or let's say on another occasion. Even these low Formula 4 cars can use quite a lot of the curbs, as they are pretty flat here in Austria. But of course, those wide curbs beyond the standard red and white one, those are spiky. And that's no longer that nice on the cars, especially on their floors. And really, usually the lower formulae struggle quite a lot over higher curbs because the ground clearance is really, really minimal. And that means that you can get your car airborne quite easily. There is Oliver Michel, car number 13 in 6th place, being chased by Jiří Šafránek, who's trying to slipstream past him. These cars, of course, they're not very fast. Powered by 1.4 litre Abarth engines, producing under 200 brake horsepower. They do not. And this is Renault Franco diving down the inside. He played a dummy on Nanda Woodbirambagdi. He was sort of pretending he was going to go to the outside, and then in the last moment switched back to the inside. Beautiful move from Renault Frankfurt, and that gives him 2nd place right now. So the car's of course not terribly fast, but that's the school, or let's say academy level, junior formula, entry level for pretty much all the field. This is where you quite often start your single-seater career in Formula 4, and that of course means that the aerodynamics aren't that effective as they are then on larger single-seaters. Still, as Red Bull Ring is actually quite fast for these cars, you'll see quite a lot of camber on front and rear wheels. So the angle at which the wheels are pretty much tilted towards the chassis is quite significant. And now Nanda Woodbirambagdi having a go at Renault Frankfurt, but he's only leaving him the outside line. That's not favoured into this corner. Well, so the camber is quite severe on these cars at this track, simply to make them try and corner at the greatest speed possible. The downforce isn't going to help you that much on these cars. The front and rear wings are fairly simple, only single plate structures with a very subtle and very small and very low gurney flap on them. Also the suspension pretty basic, but definitely allowing for basic setups. course, double wishbone front and back with pushrod architecture. Agozi still leading, but he's extended his gap to 2 seconds already, and he's just set the fastest lap, 1:32.5, while Franco did 1:32.8, Biron Bugdi 1:32.9. Both of them set their respective personal bests. So has Agozi, but incidentally that was also the fastest lap anyone has set in the race so far. Jakobsen in 4th from Tyler, Michal, Szafranek and Mikesh. Sauter and Isher, of course, out of this race already. And we've just got into the second half of this race. Still only half a second between Franco and Biron Bugdi in the fight for second. So still podium finishes. Jakobsen trying to stay together with them, but actually his pace not exactly supporting him in that quest. And it's now Renaud Franco just improved on the fastest lap of the race. Well, James Agozi in front of him did exactly the same, but was marginally slower. 1:32.498 for Agozi, 4:81 for Renaud Franco. So he went just under 200ths of a second quicker than the race leader. That means that the gap remains around 2 seconds. No big change there. And Agozi has got it all in his hands, just like yesterday. Black and white flag for car number 6. That's Miroslav Mikesh for exceeding track limits. Mikesh is trying hard to stay together with the rest of the pack. He's trailing Szafranek by nearly 2 seconds. Maybe he's just going overly aggressive. You really need to be careful in the first corner and also in the second to last corner. That's where the marshals look at the white line mostly. And Jiří Szafranek has got past Oliver Michal, relegated him down to 7th. So a place gained for Jirka Szafranek. But he's now immediately being attacked by Michal. He didn't really have the best of runs through turn 3. And was actually slower on the exit. Now Michal overtaking him round the outside, but had to slow down a bit as he was getting closer to the edge of the track. And same then happened to Szafranek, who was actually getting closer to Michal, so he also had to back off slightly, and that allowed Michal to keep that 6th place. Agozi in the lead. Franco really, really wide off the track, out of the last corner. And here, same happens to Oliver Michal. This is the one where you need to be careful. That could actually initiate the warning. Ooh, but that was a really deep braking into the first corner for Oliver Michel, and that really opens the door wide open. That leaves the door wide open for Jirka Šafránek, and he didn't really need to be invited twice, and he's immediately back in front of Michel. So this is a exciting little scrap for P6 now. Šafránek having a go on Michel, but now it's the other way around. This is also allowing Mirek Mikeš to close down on them. Look how close he is getting right now. Michel around the outside, just like he did on the previous lap. Not this time. He was cut off very early by Šafránek. The Czech driver was further ahead this time out, and that allows him to keep the position. Okay, I beg your pardon there, because I've just mixed up two drivers. So it is not Jirka Šafránek who was fighting together with Oliver Michel. It was actually Nico Taylor. Those are the two teammates from Renauer Motorsport. So it is actually Nico Taylor who repassed Oliver Michel, as the Hungarian driver had stolen 5th place for him. So this is actually for P5. And Miroslav Mikeš is a little further back in his Sape Motorsport car. Ooh, but Michel outbrakes himself, and he had to take evasive action, which then becomes a successful pass, but only for now, because Taylor is attempting a repass. Now they're running side by side. Who is going to come out on top out of this scrap? Right now it is Taylor, but Michel's holding on the inside line, and he comes back out on top to snatch P5 off the hands of Nico Taylor. Back ahead of Tyler. Šafránek behind them. Hard on the brakes. For the first corner. This is where Tyler is usually a little better. Šafránek trying to stay together with them and have some of that as well. Black and white flag for the car 25. For track limits, that's Matthias Bjerre Jakobsen in 4th. Meanwhile, shaking off the pressure. Agosi in the meantime 3.2 seconds ahead of Renault Frankot, as he's just set another fastest lap with 1:32.351. Frankot already half a second per lap slower, and David Birombakti 1.7 seconds behind Frankot. The Thai driver staying in 3rd from Jakobsen, the young Dane. Sideways moment for Nico Taylor. That was a pretty wild ride for the young Briton. Oliver Michel has now been improving his pace over the Renauer machines, and he has already put a full second between himself and Nico Tyler. That was, of course, helped by that slide by Tyler. Just over 3 minutes left in this race. Agozi leading from Frankot, Biron Bagdi, Jakobsen, Michel, Tyler, Szafranek and Mikesh. Down the hill we go again. Yet another fastest lap for Agozi, 1:32.2. The only other driver lapping under 1:33 is Renault Frankot, 1:32.7. Personal best for Nico Tyler now. Sorry, Oliver Michel actually. 1:34.4. For the Hungarian, Nico Tyler set a very similar lap time to his. As we are about to begin the final lap of the day. So there we go, Agozi leading the pack onto the 15th lap in this race. His tires showing signs of degradation as a slightly darker stripe is appearing in the middle of the tire treads. That of course comes out of the fact that the camber is quite significant, so on the straight you're basically running on the insides of the tires, and in the corners as the car leans to the outside it makes the tires stand up, so to say. A little twitchy under braking. Just needs to bring it home. There he is. The BHM colours, only known in motorsport since 2021, but already quite a high-profile team with visible results. And the team that's running also in the official Formula 3 and Formula 2 now. Here in the Czech Formula 4, it arrived and it started winning right away. James Agozi, victorious yesterday and scoring another one today, repeating the feat of Ethan Isher from Hungary. James Agozi takes the win from Renault Frankot and Nandavut Biron Bagdi, so this time out it is a BHM 1-3. Matthias Bjerre-Jakobsen in fourth, so it's a 2-4 finish for Jense Motorsport. DNF for the third car. Oliver Michel will come home in fifth. There he goes, ahead of Nico Tyler, so he robbed him of the P5. Across the line they go for Nico Tyler to score sixth. Jiří Šafránek seventh, and Miroslav Mikesh comes home in eighth. Michael Sauter and Ethan Isher did not make it to the end, as they both retired on the opening lap of the race after separate incidents, but then came together as they met each other in the gravel trap. And the track marshals, of course, greeting all the drivers with all the flags that they can find at their marshalling posts. with that, the Sunday is coming to its end. The weather is beautiful, so it's a perfect end to a beautiful race weekend here in Styria. I hope that you enjoyed it just as much as we did, and we will be reunited pretty soon, actually in mid-June. In 3 weeks' time we're going to Slovakia, to the Slovakia ring, not with all the championships. There will be TCRs, there will be Clios, and other stuff as well. The rest of the championships we are going to meet again then in August in the Czech Republic at the Autodromo Most. My name is Pavel Fabry. I was your commentator for the weekend as usual, and with the results of the second race of Formula 4, the Czech Formula 4, we are about to say goodbye to you. Thank you very much for watching, for joining in and staying with us. As already mentioned, the next round comes in 3 weeks' time in Slovakia, but until then, stay safe and well, have a very nice end to your Sunday, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, and see you the next time.